I'm not going to look corny right before that happens. Okay? That's crazy. Anyway, another internal. Here's some good news in a sea of bad news. Tulchin Research poll released on 7/20. This is a pollster associated with the Abdul al-Sayed campaign, so it can be read as an internal poll. Shows Abdul al-Sayed at 56% and Haley Stevens at 40%. Abdul al-Sayed leads in head-to-head matchup. Abdul al-Sayed leads Haley Stevens 56 to 40% plus 16, leaving just 4% of primary voters still undecided following Mallory McMorrow's withdrawal from the race. Al-Sayed has effectively consolidated the electorate and vaulted past the 50% mark. The underlying personal popularity of the two candidates continues to define the trajectory of this primary. Al-Sayed maintains a broad and deeply resilient well of goodwill among likely primary voters, outpacing Stevens' net popularity by 31 percentage points. Abdul al-Sayed sustains a strong 69% favorable rating to 70% unfavorable. Haley Stevens enters the final stage of the race with a significantly more fractured image at 54% favorable and 34% unfavorable with a plus 20 net favorability. So here's the thing. This is an internal, but these margins are so vast that in the absence of like any independent polling, you can look at the trajectory of the campaign. You can look at the trajectory of where things are headed. Also, on the other side of the story, there are no internal polls that Haley Stevens has released since the Glenn Gariff internal. The Glenn Gariff internal that came from the newspaper that had endorsed Haley Stevens showed Haley Stevens with an 8-point bump over Abdul, but she hasn't released any additional internals. Given the fact that they have refused to release any internals, and I suspect that they have conducted internal polling, and the intensity in which a lot of establishment Democrats have swarmed this race to get Gary Peters, the outbound senator, to come out and endorse Haley Stevens, it's probably not looking too good. This is speculative, but I assume, judging by these numbers, judging by Abdul's the Abdul side and their interest in releasing internal polling that shows Abdul's popularity increasing, and judging by the fact that Haley Stevens has refused to release any new internal polls, this is a reasonable thing to suspect. This does not mean that we stop pushing, because once again, there is a tremendous amount of money and powerful entities backing Haley Stevens here. Okay? The Stevens approval here among Democrats is as low as that post-sexual assault scandal Plattner. Here's Sam Robinson, local reporter, after Elizabeth Warren came out and endorsed Abdul al-Sayed, which I thanked. I said, thank you, Senator. Queen Elizabeth Warren.
Abdul al-Sayed for Senate in Michigan. Abdul is the only candidate in this race not taking corporate money, and he's fighting to get money out of politics altogether. Abdul studied to be a doctor, and he's fighting for every single American to have affordable, high-quality health care. Abdul has been a card-carrying union member, and he's fighting for working people. That's why he's endorsed by the United Auto Workers, and he's growing a movement of working people all across Michigan. And that's why I'm endorsing Abdul. He is the fighter Michigan needs in the Senate. Michiganders deserve a senator who will fight for you, not for special interests running millions of dollars in TV ads to buy this seat. And make no mistake, Abdul is the only candidate in this race who can build the grassroots movement needed to win in November. For money in your pocket, to get money out of politics.
What gives?
And deliver Medicare for all.
Well, what about Senator Warren? I raise you the counterpoint.
Israel comes to me in my dreams.
What about that for a salient, reliable, winning message? I don't know if you're aware of Mike's perspective on this, but Abdul's a lock and you should just focus on other candidates now since the races you believe aren't close will lose by 1 to 2% if we don't change our focus. I don't necessarily agree. I do think that Abdul is a higher likely to win, but it's never a lock. That's crazy. And I'm doing both. Kai Newkirk is coming up tomorrow. Okay, this is the last opportunity you have. If you're in Arizona, if you're outside of Arizona, you should phone bank for Kai Newkirk. Kai Newkirk is obviously another close race. One that Israel has intervened in. That race, Israel has like directly tried to intervene in, ironically enough. But yeah, you can phone bank for him. That's tomorrow. It's the last day to do it. But yeah, so Elizabeth Warren said this, and then Sam Robinson also highlighted it, said, this tracks with the anecdotal evidence I've gathered that most of the people I talked to who were planning to vote for McMorrow are now voting for El Sayed. I'm not finding McMorrow to Stevens supporters in the wild. Stevens has also courted them. What has she done to court them? Your vote is your vote. If you already submitted a ballot for my friend Mallory McMorrow, be sure to spoil it and request a new ballot. That's not really courting them. That's just saying, like, vote for me instead. They're playing attack ads with you in them in Wisconsin now. It's pretty neat. Donovan McKinney also got some decent pickups here. DSA national endorsement for Donovan McKinney, and also Summer Lee endorsed him. Donovan McKinney's running against Sharif Tanadar. But yeah, some good news in a sea of bad news. Francesca Hong is our other target here as well. Francesca Hong is going up in a competitive, loaded primary field where the Wisconsin, Wisconsin Democratic Party is making moves. They brought back Crowley to enter the race because they despise Mandela Barnes as well. Mandela Barnes is obviously in a head-to-head matchup with Francesca Hong. Francesca Hong has been the front runner, and that's our gal. Tom Tiffany's been attacking Francesca Hong because I think the Republicans read the writing on the wall. They recognize that she is already the front runner. Okay. Not only did Francesca Hong use the Sam Parker's platform to raise money, she also accepted $7,000 from him. Mao Zedong was responsible for the deaths of at least 40 million people. Wisconsin doesn't need Mao-inspired Chinese communism. We need common sense. Francesca Hong said, this you, Tom Tiffany. In December, Tiffany appeared on the Quartering podcast with Jeremy Hambley, who has said Hitler had actually done some good things, defended a Camp Auschwitz t-shirt as dark humor, and has repeatedly made anti-Semitic remarks. Good clapback from Hong. New Hong ad is basically acting like it's the general.
Hi, everyone. I'm State Representative Francesca Hong. I'm running for governor of Wisconsin to protect our natural resources and lower utility costs for working families. Last year, I introduced legislation that puts a moratorium on the construction of new hyperscale AI data centers. I also introduced a bill that would cap utility costs at 2% of annual household income. Lately, a lot of my opponents are changing their tune. You can't claim to care about our environment.
Yeah, now they're starting to fucking see the writing on the wall. Phonies, all of them.
When you're selling out the boundary waters, giving tribal lands to oil pipeline polluters, or getting a 0% rating from environmental groups. So when Tom Tiffany says he's going to stand up to AI data center developers,
exciting new technology,
I know Wisconsin voters are too smart to believe those Washington lies. I've had a plan since day one to lower costs for working families and protect our natural resources. This is how our campaign is making better possible. Oh, and by the way, our AI policies don't end there. Be sure to check out Labor Shift, where we help protect Wisconsin workers, and Firewall to protect consumers from AI exploitation.
My queen. I bow in her glory. I love Francesca Hong. She is fucking amazing. Okay. She will win. And this will be a pivotal moment for the left movement. Abdul and Francesca are the next targets from my perspective beyond all the other people that I'm highlighting, because they will prove that democratic socialists, or at least Bernie-crat populism, can win statewide elections in what is known as swing states. Okay? How are Cori Bush's chances, in your opinion? I think with Cori Bush, it's always going to be a tough race, but I think she can also win. It's just she has not gotten the necessary attention from national groups. It's very frustrating. Weird how the Dem Party establishment has been trying to impose its own virtual blacklist of the same targets, Sam Piker, DSA, as Trump. Suggests, again, the Dem Party's playing possum non-opposition to Trump is in part because they share common internal enemies. Yes. There are lots of Wesley Bell ads. Obviously, Wesley Bell is the AIPAC candidate, and AIPAC has been dumping boatloads of money into that race, and it's a smaller market race. So obviously, $1 million goes a very long way. The hope is that Cori can actually out-organize. Would kill for a Fox News poll? Wait, what? Are there any reason? Is there any reason no one seems to be doing independent polls for such a consequential race? Yeah. You should focus on Berg, who's trying to run against DVO. Guys. I already have the people that I'm like not even paying sufficient attention to, and you're like adding new names onto the board. Like I don't, like, it's crazy. Same with Maine. Obviously, Troy Odathon is going to need our help as well. Oliver Larkin in Florida, Elijah Manley in Florida. There's a lot going on. There's also Angie as well. But yeah, Kai Newkirk. Anyway, getting back to Francesca Hong, though, here's the guy. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers breaks his nearly year-long silence on who he wants to succeed him. David Crowley. Could it backfire? I asked Crowley after he got back in the race the week after dropping out. Now, what's interesting about Crowley is that he was polling at like 3% or something, and he was going to consolidate power behind Sarah Rodriguez. Peggy, not Angie. Angie's dog shit. No. I'm talking about in Florida. What are you talking about? Of course, Peggy Flanagan in Minnesota. I'm talking about Angie Nixon in Florida, chatter. What the fuck? You think I would? Angie ran into the oldest Hasanabi head single issue voter. Fuck AIPAC in the ass.
AIPAC money? Is that true? No, ma'am, I don't. Why don't you tell this camera? Oh, they know this is my camera. Oh, okay. Yeah. Why don't we tell them that one of the most important things we respect about Angie, besides all of the other popular progressive policies, is that she doesn't take AIPAC money. That will free another Senate seat up to be honest and to move forward with America's interests. Thank you. Thank you. That you don't take AIPAC.
Yeah, speaking of which, today's their deadline to register as a Democrat for the Florida primary. Go register. Go register. We got our work cut out for us in Florida. Okay. Florida, unfortunately, hasn't been getting a lot of national attention from any of the big groups. They just completely left it behind. And it's very, very frustrating to me. But getting back into it, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers broke his nearly year-long silence and is backing David Crowley. Now, the reason why they're backing David Crowley is because all of the centrists were dropping out to endorse Rodriguez. They wanted to do the 2020 Biden blast on Rodriguez's campaign, but Rodriguez had a problem. Her campaign manager was allegedly mismanaging funds or potentially even embezzling funds. And they actually did not have any cash on hand at all. They were so wrong. They were so off target on how much they had raised and how they had used those funds that Susan Rodriguez had to drop out. Now, there's another guy running in the race, Mandela Barnes, who had positioned himself as a progressive back in the day. And then for one reason, or not Susan, sorry, Sarah Rodriguez. I apologize. I'm doing off Top Dome. There are so many fucking races. So my mistake for getting the name wrong. But Mandela Barnes got zero support from the National Democratic Party. And he lost a marginal race in the Senate. Okay. Having said that, however, since then, he has reestablished himself as a centrist as well. And he is positioning himself as like the Mallory McMorrow style candidate in the Goldilocks zone, where he wants to be progressive for the progressives and moderate for the establishment enjoyers. But the problem is that is a dangerous environment to be in. That's a dangerous environment to be in because you will be seen as far too radical for the moderates and far too indecent and untrustworthy for the progressives when you try to sit on that fence. So far, he's seen a decent amount. He's seen a decent amount of support. I see his supporters on the fucking timeline. Sometimes they're like attacking Francesca Hong, which always shocks me because they have like the watermelon emoji in their names and stuff. And I'm like, the fuck? But in any case, here's the issue. Here's the issue for him. The establishment Democrats, for one reason or another, the Wisconsin Democratic Party, for one reason or another, and I don't know what it is. Some people have speculated that there's like allegations of sexual harassment. And I don't know how reliable these allegations are. People have written about it. But for one reason or another, they fucking hate him. Okay? Wisconsin Democrats fucking hate this guy. I don't know what it actually is. There's just anonymous rumors swirling around. I don't think that's like, I don't think that's the reason, but they despise him. Okay. Mandela Barnes, not David Crowley. That's the reason why David Crowley came back in the race. Because Governor Tony Evers could have just endorsed Mandela Barnes. Okay. They could have just endorsed Mandela Barnes. That probably would have given him the boost that he needed to potentially defeat Francesca Hong. But it's very interesting that they chose to do this, further splitting the establishment lane. Barnes was Evers' previous lieutenant governor. It's weird. I know. A bunch of big donors dropped off a Senate campaign right at the end, too. I know. I don't know what it was. But they are still splitting the moderate lane once again because Mandela has some moderates backing him. And this is, of course, been, fairly decent for Francesca Hong's chances, but she still certainly needs our support. But here is David Crowley being asked about coming back into the race, even though he was at 3% last time around.
Where Democrats on the ground see this as the establishment really trying to handpick the nominee.
Well, I don't know who the establishment is. And when you think about the state of Wisconsin.
Governor?
Well, again, when you think about the state of Wisconsin, you look at a black kid from the city of Milwaukee, this is not what the establishment looks like. And so I am focused on what we need to do in order to win this race, to make sure that we can defeat Tom Tiffany in November.
Could this backfire?
The Marquette Law School poll in March found 86% Democratic voters had a favorable view of Governor Tony Evers. But in May, Democratic legislators turned against Evers' budget surplus deal reached with the Republicans. Governor Evers announced last year he was not running for a third term. He said at the time he wasn't endorsing, but I'll never say never. If there's someone who really needs support and I want him to win, I might get in. This is why. Normalize saying free Palestine. No, this was back when he was like far more progressive. You need to understand something. You need to understand something about Mandela Barnes. Mandela Barnes is not a real progressive. Okay? It's really interesting that they're trying to rat fuck Francesca Hong. Mandela Barnes is an op. He just postured as a progressive for the longest time, but he's not a real progressive now. Okay? I need you to understand that. He is trying to reinvent himself as a Pinot, progressive in name only, in that Mallory McMorrow lane. Undecided, the Marquette Law School poll in March found 3% of Democratic primary voters back Crowley. At the same time, the poll found 65% of Democratic primary voters were undecided. It also found Governor Tony Evers is approved by 86% of Democrats. Will he sway them? Darn right, heck no, 84 votes. So
Could this backfire?
Yeah, so we shall see. But it is absolutely a rat fuck against Francesca Hong. I mean, it's pretty open. They're pretty open about it too. They say it. They're running the electability argument again. They're saying, "Oh, Francesca Hong can't win. She's too radical. She can't win in a state like Wisconsin. Like we're actually going to lose if she's the candidate." It's not true. It's not true at all. And they just are terrified of the momentum of Francesca Hong. Maybe some people genuinely think Francesca Hong's chances are harder against Tom Tiffany than the other candidates, but I don't believe that. I think, first of all, I think that's just objectively wrong. Okay? I think that's an objectively wrong analysis, but maybe some people sincerely believe that. Okay? Perhaps some people sincerely believe that, but a lot of people are terrified of her success. Not of her failure, but of her success. Same with Abdul. Abdul's chances are far better in Michigan, but it doesn't matter. These people are terrified not of the failure of progressives, of the failure of the Democratic Socialists, but of their success. They're scared that if these guys can be successful in swing states, if these guys can be successful and popular and have an agenda that is objectively popular in swing states as out and about Democratic Socialists, if Democratic Socialism is associated with good governance, then they will lose what remains of their grip of power at the center of the party. Okay? That's it. That's it. So they're doing everything in their power to try to cut the momentum of the left flank insurgency candidates. The anti-data center thing seems to freak out centrists, and I don't know why. I think centrists demonstrate fealty to corporate interests no matter what. Yeah, but here's another example. Just look at the number of canvas events on Mobilize for Dem Wisconsin governor campaigns. Here's the distribution. Francesca Hong has 50. Joel Brennan has 1. Mandela Barnes 0. Kelderoy 0. David Crowley 0. One of these is an electable campaign. The rest aren't. It's massive. And the same thing happens with Abdul too. The organization efforts of the left is one of the keys to their success. If you can't be on the ground for your voters, how can you expect them to show up for you? I just hope that she doesn't break with the barrage of attack ads that she will receive. I hope that she doesn't cave, because like there are a lot of people who have gotten very mad at her on the timeline because she's like, oh, she's a police abolitionist, all this shit, right? Oh, it's gonna be, you're too unserious to run for governor. It's bullshit. Okay, it's bullshit. Anyway, so now Let's get to Karen Bass also blacklisted, so you're really amongst the radical of the radical. What is happening? Did someone just talk about the State Department blacklisting me or something? I covered it extensively already, okay? Stop. We're moving on. We're moving on to my favorite part of the day, situation monitoring. Ladies and gentlemen, Ansar Allah is incoming. People are getting off work and seeing the news. Don't be grumpy. I know. Well, many have noticed that I have been a little bit extra grumpy because I woke up to a fucking face full of news that determined that I'm a goddamn radical terrorist by the fucking State Department of this goddamn fascist country that I happen to be the citizen of. So I apologize for my grumpiness, but fear not, I will be taking an extended break soon with my family. So that's coming up in a couple days, as a matter of fact. So I hopefully will be able to recover. A longer break than I have in a long time. That's right. Approximately 4-day break. But I will be bringing my equipment with me on this family vacation, even though my mom and dad petitioned against it. And the reason for why is because of this fucking war that is on the verge of exploding. No, don't do that, bro. What the fuck? While I am on family vacation, starting on Wednesday, I will check in periodically with the news. And if there's something that I need to cover, if there's some breaking news that I definitely need to cover, which I suspect there might be, I will fire off the stream same time that I normally would. Same time that I normally would fire off the stream at, but it will be a shorter one. Having said that, let's get to